Hafide Guam and Hafide Action PAC members and viewers, we are excited to announce another episode of the We Want to Know Action PAC show, hosted by yours truly. My name is Phil Letty, your Action PAC Executive Director. We have a special guest today, and today's guest is another candidate that is vying for one of your votes in this upcoming election. Hafide, sir, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. You want to say a quick hello to our viewing audience?
Good morning, Hafide, to the audience and to yourself, Mr. Letty. Good morning. Happy Friday to you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. And to our new viewers, we always want to ensure that we introduce Action PAC for those that are kind of wondering who we are and what we are about. Action PAC Inc. was formed out of a need to play an active role in government, beginning at the grassroots level. Action PAC comprises members of a cross-section of Guam society, representing all walks of life, and united in our belief that we can affect change through action. We welcome you to get to know us better, and we hope to help you get to know our candidates better. Mr. Lujan, again, thank you so much for accepting our invitation for this conversation. If you would like to say anything to the viewing audience prior to our interview questions, now's your time.
Sure, absolutely. Again, my name is Jesse Anderson Lujan. I'm number 2 in the Republican side of the ballot. I formerly served in the legislature in the 27th, 28th, and 29th Guam legislature. In the 27th, I served as in the minority. In 28th and 29th, I enjoyed the majority in the legislature again. And then after that, I did 10 years at KUAM doing radio and TV. And here I'm back again trying to do my civil duty and serve the people of Guam.
We appreciate all the citizens who step up and vie for a seat to represent our island and with their platforms and their ideas to progress us forward and make our island life better. So thank you so much for that. You do have a plethora of experience, especially serving in previous legislatures. So we're excited to hear what you have to offer the voters and the island in this election. So we'll jump right in, sir. Okay. Our first question to all of our candidates is if you can tell us, what are your 3 platform pillars?
Okay. Well, actually, my platform actually has more than 3 pillars, but for the sake of conversation, we'll talk about the 3 very important issues. First and foremost, again, if people want to follow along, they can get to my website, jesselujan.org. They'll have all our pillars of our platform there. But let's start off with rebuilding our tourism industry. Urgently rebuilding, of course, our tourism industry is crucial and needs our government's full attention, absolutely full attention. Before the pandemic, of course, our tourism industry accounted for about 60% of Guam's economic output. And while we are seeing very encouraging signs of the initial recovery, we are a long, long ways from actually being at the state that we were prior to the pandemic. And, a lot of businesses, that, Phil, as much as I do, that business continue to struggle and are doing all they can to hold on with the skin of their teeth, right? And while some jobs are coming back, thousands of our people are still unemployed or underemployed. And so we need a robust tourism industry recovery to bring back, good jobs that people need. With this in mind, Phil, I think we need to use more of the remaining ARP funds to provide to the Guam Visitors Bureau, with additional marketing funds to go to promote Guam in Korea, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. I think we need to give the Guam Visitors Bureau more resources and a special supplement that we call basically relaunch our tourism industry marketing budget. This budget needs to be specifically for marketing Guam again, enticing Japanese, Koreans, and Taiwanese tourists to visit Guam and supporting local tourism related businesses. I also believe that the governor needs to provide another round of the LEAP funding. We have 2 real challenges, Phil, to overcome. First and foremost, we need to get tourists to return, but we also need to ensure that they have a good time while they are here, okay? The majority of our locally owned and operated tourist attractions, Phil, here currently can't afford to stay open and operate at full-time basis with the current number of tourist arrivals that we're seeing right now. Although encouraging, again, there's still, the challenges to keep the doors open based on the numbers that are coming in. They need tourist arrivals to increase dramatically because it makes sense to return to a pre-pandemic hours, operational hours, if we don't have the numbers that come in. So another round of LEAP funding is going to be extremely important. Number two of that pillar again is fighting inflation. Certainly, again, there are many factors beyond our local control, but there are several, of course, important things that the government can do to reduce inflation. I have strongly, in the past, you know this, in previous interviews, been strongly advocating for the immediate rollback of the BPT. We should also immediately suspend BPT and GRT on food and medicines. We should start at least a 12-month suspension and provide both businesses and consumers with this immediate relief. I have called on the governor. I've written letters again in different forums in the newspaper to have the governor meet with the Chamber of Commerce and immediately review all the Guam current fees and taxes that the government in Guam has in place, assess them, and temporarily waive or suspend as many as possible for maybe the next 6 to 12 months. I will also again spearhead trying to obtain at least a 24-month waiver of the Jones Act. And the third pillar, you asked for a third pillar. A third pillar, of course, the crime and drug problem here in Guam is out of control. The local government needs to take a more aggressive measure to curb such things that are happening. We need to see that GPD and customs take a much more active role in fighting, of course, this drug problem. We need to give GPD, customs, and more resources to make sure that they have real plans. And we need to hold them accountable. Other than the daily arrests of drug users, Phil, it's very hard for anyone to point out that GPD or any of the local agencies is doing what they're doing to stop the dealers or the importation of drugs into our ports. We often hear about what the feds are doing. They have, their seizures they have done, but we need real local leadership. Local leadership. Guam is not the safe place it once was. We need to act, with urgency to make our place safe again, to make Guam again.
You're absolutely right. Those are great pillars, and it really is a combination of what truly encompasses life on Guam. Tourism being a leading industry that has suffered tremendously and almost came to a complete halt through the pandemic. GHRA is one of our partner organizations, and we would love to see that industry rebound tremendously, because a healthy tourism industry means there's more jobs for our people, more stimulus into our economy, both for all the other industries and businesses on island. So we'd love to see it.
Sure, absolutely. And, the pandemic, worldwide pandemic, of course, but the local government is what shut down the businesses down here. So the local government needs to do all it can to bring up these businesses. Absolutely. So, when we say there are things out of our control, out of GovGuam's control, absolutely. But there are things that also the local government had done again to the businesses out here. So it must do its duty again, morally, to get us back again to pre-pandemic times.
You're right. You're completely right. And another one of our partners is the Guam Contractors Association, and thank God that the construction industry was around and was being fed by the federal awards, because that is I want to say that along with, of course, the federal funds, kept our island afloat. So we do need to see a huge recovery effort started by the government that is touting a surplus to the business community, and we need to see it as soon as possible. So I love your first pillar. Your second pillar of the cost of living, the inflation, and the assistance. As we mentioned, the BPT rollback and the Jones Act waiver are so important for us to combat the increased pricing. We're not only battling the Jones Act, and we're battling the multifaceted inflation crisis, but we're battling the online retailers. And this is something that our local markets and our local shop owners are having a tough time doing. And you almost cannot blame the consumer when the price is so high once the product lands on island. If the
Absolutely. Absolutely, Phil. I mean, no, I mean, you're not going to get an argument from me on that. Absolutely. I do it myself.
There you
Yeah.
go. And so we need to find a way. And one of the things that you mentioned that was very important is having that dialogue. So I do believe it's the government's and voted elected officials' responsibility to speak to
Sure.
the Guam Chamber, Chinese Chamber, Korean Chamber,
Sure.
Women's Chamber, and all of the stakeholders throughout our island in multiple industries to come to a conclusion of how we can
Sure.
work together to move forward in the best for
Sure.
all of to call Guam home. And then your
Sure.
last pillar of crime. If you believe that there is no crime crisis on Guam, I do not know what island you're waking up on, because it is a unsafe and scary time. In comparison to when I was growing up, I am a son of a retired police officer, and I
Mhm.
cannot remember the type of things that we're starting to see in the news,
Sure.
and it's becoming
Sure.
more and more frequent. So we do need to find a way to find those leaders within our local law
Mhm.
enforcement to combat the crime. And of course, we need strong,
Sure.
aggressive help from our Attorney General's office,
Sure.
and that's something that
Yeah,
I firmly believe.
absolutely, absolutely, Phil. Again, no argument with me from that. And again, I wasn't, I was kind of in and out here in Guam in the '70s and the heroin, epidemic back then. And folks, again, like your dad and folks at the police department, they said that was bad back then, but this is even worse now. This is actually even worse, because back then it's not almost every family that was affected. That this one, almost every household is affected, and the crime has infected every sector of our community. And the only thing at this point that's not affected by the inflation and supply chain is meth.
That's correct. I
You know,
did see that
yeah,
statistic.
yeah,
And
sure,
one of the things and the strong statements that I will share with our viewing audience is crime, the drug abuse issues on island. A lot of that is relative to the state of our economy.
sure, sure,
People are in
absolutely,
desperate times, and that's why we do need to step up as an island, as business owners, as community leaders, and as elected officials to
sure,
come to a synergy of
sure,
hope and progress,
sure,
post-pandemic time. So thank you for your three
sure,
pillars, sir.
sure.
We're jumping.
One of the things that
Go ahead.
one of the things I like to mention as well when I'm talking about rolling back the BPT and the GRT and all that. Phil, we're in an economy right now. Thank God for the federal funds, right? that has come in and this was our saving grace. But when you have inflationary, when we're in inflation, okay, inflation, everything has gone up. I mean, everything that we buy or for goods and services nowadays is not the same as it was back then. Gas prices, thank God it's coming down a little bit, but not far enough. But when you have taxes and fees in times when you had a lot of money in circulation, and you still have those same tax structure and fees in an economy, an inflationary and an economy that's not bringing a lot of money, I mean, that's insane. That's insane. You definitely have to go back, rethink. That's where the governor, the legislature, the chamber needs to all come together. And I've called for this for over a year now, that the government meet with the chamber to look at all the taxes and fees that are in place right now, because we're not in the same times we were 2 years ago when we had record tourists coming in. We have record tourists none coming in right now. That's
Correct.
what we had.
Correct. You're right. Yeah, we're not even in a rebound stage economy-wise. We're in a recovery
Nope.
stage.
Nope.
It is crippling to continue to
Sure.
hold on to a higher percentage of taxes on our business
Sure.
community. Action
Yeah.
PAC strongly is advocating for the reduction for all businesses,
Sure.
not just most as they have touted, but all
No,
businesses for the business privilege tax. So I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Now, number
Absolutely.
2, sir, what is one main focus item that you realistically see that you can accomplish within one term?
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I have more than one main focus, but the one thing for sure that I will make sure the legislature that we have, again, when we go back, everything is intertwined here, Phil, in regards to when we talk about inflation and crime and all that. Okay, everything's intertwined here. But the one thing I want to ensure that's going to happen is the legislative oversight and public safety, and again, to improve and reduce the crime and make a dent in our drug problem that we're having right here. Of course, I will work diligently, of course, with the Guam Police Department, Customs, and all local agencies involved with public safety to make sure that we have the resources and leadership to do the job. I would also ensure that the legislature uses its oversight power to hold agencies and the administration accountable. I'm not just going to sit back and complain. That's why I'm running and seeking a seat in the 37th Guam legislature, because I mean, I've written letters and they fell on deaf ears. So I said, hey, let me get proactive in this thing, right? I will also demand that we take an active all hands on deck approach on to fighting crime and attacking this crystal meth problem that we have on Guam. Again, the only thing that has not affected or has not been affected by the pandemic and inflation and supply chain and all that is meth and the meth problem that it causes on island, and that's a sad statement, very sad statement.
Yeah, it's apparent. It's a everyday news, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate.
Sure.
And we definitely need to nip it in the bud, slow it down, and find the mitigation courses.
So and the other thing, the other thing I want to say as well is that I'm hoping, the current legislature does not have to wait to the 37th Guam legislature and Jesse Lujan to get in to roll back the DPT. They can do that right now as we speak. So if they don't do that by then, I mean, that's 5-6 months away. If they don't do that by then, you can rest assured, again, that'll be one of my first things that I would do. But I hope and pray that I won't have to, that we, the people of Guam, and businesses and employees and employers don't have to wait 5 or 6 months for that to happen.
I share that statement, and that's why the Action PAC was formed, is because we do feel strongly about empowering, supporting, and backing leaders that are going to take action when they get elected, not just voice promises to get elected. So that is one of our main goals of the Action PAC. And as we come to a close with our final question, I always like to remind the viewers that the Action PAC is made up of the largest business organizations on Guam. So we always give the honorary shout outs to the Guam Chamber, the Women's Chamber of Commerce, Chinese and Korean Chamber, Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association, Contractors Association, as well as the Guam Association of Realtors. So we love that we are a multifaceted group of minds at the table, sharing similar concerns for our island. And that's what we hope the next and future legislatures are, where they have industry experts and passions from different avenues of our society. And that's why we're excited to have this conversation. So knowing that, and in closing, how will you, and you've touched on it many parts earlier in the interview, how will you help our local business community during this economic recovery period?
Okay, as I said earlier, ensuring that our tourism industry recovers is a big priority of mine, absolutely big priority of mine. I definitely will fight to increase GVB's in-country promotional budgets, and I will do all I can to make sure to ensure another round of the LEAP funding or similar program is available if the administration hasn't acted again prior to the start of the 37th Guam legislature. Like I said, again, they don't have to wait till the 37th Guam legislature to do this or Jesse Lujan to get in there. They can do it right now. So I'm encouraging them, please do it. Please do it. How many rosaries do we have to say for them to do it? I will, I will immediately, if they haven't done it, again, within 5 or 6 months, I will immediately work to roll back the DPT and reduce as many fees and local taxes as possible, because again, we cannot continue on. And I know within 5 or 6 months, hopefully the science will continue that tourism numbers are growing. But Phil, 40,000 tourists that 1 month is great, but just remember, a couple of years ago it was 240, and imagine if somebody took 2/3 of your money out of your pocket right now, how much you and I will be crying, right? We're crying right now with that, right? So roll back the DPT, reduce as many fees and taxes as possible. We need to support our local businesses and do all we can to spur again a more rapid recovery, because the business and economic environment here has been brutal, and the pandemic has devastated our biggest industry. The government needs to do all it can, again, to help get businesses back on its feet and get our economy thriving again. And I'm ready to do that on day one and make it happen. And I'm hoping and praying they don't have to wait 5 or 6 months. Again, this is not genius work. This is common sense work. So legislature, governor, get together. You can do it today. But if you have to wait 5 or 6 months, then I'll be there. You can count on my first day. I'll probably run out of, if I get sworn in, I'm going to run. Hold on, I need to introduce this bill. To roll back.
I love the energy. I love your foundational values and the areas that you are focusing on. And you definitely have the experience of having the privilege of serving in previous legislatures. So we do appreciate your time and your candor.
Thank you.
And I'm certain that both you and I can agree that an informed and knowledgeable voter is a powerful voice at the polls. Hence the reason for this podcast. We want to have these conversations directly with our candidates and have you truly pour out your heart and concern for our island. And I think you did a well job today, sir. So I appreciate you, Mr. Lujan, for coming on the We Want to Know Action Pack show. Is there any final remarks that you would like to tell the voters who are viewing as we come closer and closer to the primary?
Sure. Okay. Well, we definitely can see the signs of recovery, and it's encouraging, but we can't take it for granted. Our local government shut down the economy, and as I said earlier, and now the local government needs to step up and help more businesses stay afloat, and again, ease the burden on them by reducing taxes, fees, and regulations, and working to promote Guam to our source markets. Now is not the time to celebrate and act as if things are back to normal. We hear a lot of cheerleading from the administration and different elected leaders. But we need to do a lot more than just cheerleading. We need, again, action and a responsive local elected government. If elected, I will say this, that I will work to reduce the tax burden, eliminate cumbersome fees, and make sure the government helps local businesses. We need an all hands on deck approach to make sure our recovery doesn't slow or stall, and that local businesses get the support that they need. Again, I'm Jesse Anderson Lujan, number 2 Republican. Please get out there and vote because your vote matters.
Absolutely. Your voice is your vote. And that's where
right.
You do your civic duty and privilege and responsibility to elect our future lawmakers on this island. So again, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the We Want to Know Action Pack show. Thank you, Mr. Jesse Lujan. And as a reminder, our primary is on August 27th. So we do hope to see a massive turnout of the concerned citizens for our island. And I will note that that I believe it is today. Today is the final day for the early voting down at the Westin. If you have time, you have a few hours to make it, let's get down there. It's quite convenient and you can get your voice in through your ballot. So again, thank you so much, sir. We look forward to having...
One other note, if I may, just the other night, we found out also that, and pass on to the viewers, that the early voting also, if employees in the businesses, I think the 1 hour or 2 hour for voting is applicable to the early voting.
Correct.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
I do know that was an area of concern or
yes, and I think the GEC ruled that it is applicable.
Correct. Yeah, they released the graphics. So thank you so much for that. So employers out there, be it for the early voting, if you have an employee that would like to express their concerns by way of their vote, please do. We encourage that. And as you heard, it is a legal right. So please offer, don't hamper their legal right. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you.
And then finally, to our viewers, may we come to a conscious and individual conclusion on the candidates you feel are deserving to lead our island forward as we continue to recover post-pandemic and further. So thank you so much. God bless you. Stay safe out there. And until the next episode, my name is Phil Letty. I'm the Executive Director for the Action Pack. And here is Mr. Jesse Lujan, your candidate. So we hope to see him after the primary. Thank you, sir. God bless.